Welcome to Volya Radio. Slava Ukraini!
Apologies for that. New process in hand, and forget it keeps on unmuting this mic right in front of me. I hope I didn't make any inappropriate noises. Good Lord. Anyway, I hope everybody's doing well this evening. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And let's get things going here. And first things first, I know a stud by that name. No, literally a actual stud of a horse. Anyway, all right, I can turn off the Seco machine now because it annoys me, and I can turn that down there. All righty, let's see if we have people who are going to be ready to co-host here. I've sent you both invites. If you have broken your phones again, please let me know. Oh, I see. You're both co-hosts now. That is a good thing. Happy days are here again. Let us go ahead and do a timestamp, and we will get going. It is currently Tuesday, July 21st in much of the world, but not all the world. So we're going to check out what time it is where. In Cock Alley in the UK, it is 7:01 a.m. and I hear you have a new prime minister. In Bitch in Switzerland and in France, it is 8:01 a.m. In Ukraine, in New York, Ukraine, it is 9:01 a.m. In the Workers' Paradise, Hangover Bay, Australia, it is 2:01 p.m. In let's see here, Fukuoka, Japan, it is 3:02 p.m. and it's probably pronounced Fook, but either way. And in Cockwash Creek, Australia, it is 3:32 p.m. In Sausage Gully, Australia, it is 4:02 p.m. In Spread Eagle Bay, Newfoundland, it is 3:32 a.m. In Goochville, Virginia, it is 2:02 a.m. And in Hooker, Oklahoma, it is 1:02 a.m. In Dickweald, Colorado, it is 12:02 a.m. Then we revert back to Monday, July 20th, where some of us are still stuck. In Mayo, in the Yukon Territories in Canada, it is 11:03 p.m. And just a little bit farther north of that, in Unalaska, Alaska, the most Alaska place you could ever be is Unalaska, Alaska. It is 10:03 p.m. Alaska, where Sarah Palin can see Russia from her house. Thank God she quit stalking me. Happy Booms and Woe Day. I'm going to go stuff your nest.
Alrighty then. Morning, Fire Fella.
Morning. How are we all today? More woe in
Ooh.
Moscow. More woe in Russia.
I was going to say I'm a little bit tired, but other than that, there seems to be a few things on fire. So thought we might just have a little look at that. A few things on fire. So let me see if I can figure it out. Because yes, there seems to have been some excitement. Let's call it excitement that started in Belgorod, as far as I can tell. So Belgorod apparently was struck with missiles last night. Yes, that's right, missiles. Lovely. Reports indicate that part of the city lost their water supply, suggesting strikes on energy infrastructure, but it was not just energy infrastructure, folks. No, there's something else that's been hit there as well. So 2 items, I believe one of which is a metallurgical plant. Look at me being able to say that first thing in the morning. And then, what's this? Simferopol. Simferopol looks quite exciting as well. There's somebody here who obviously can't keep the camera straight, but big old explosion. And I'm just going to retweet that just so you understand that that explosion appears to have been a sympathetic target because, well, the explosion goes directly up in the air and also contains lots of sparkles, which suggests that there was something quite splody right there. Splody. So that, suggests to me that there was maybe an air defense unit or something like that with missiles. Well, not anymore. Let's hope they took out some missile launchers or something like that. Yeah. So in Lipetsk, it says here there was a fire broke out at a thermal power station following the announcement of a missile alert. And I would say that, yeah, there's a big old fire there. If you look at the very first video of the thing that I've just retweeted, that's the word. Morning. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's still early. The cats decided to wake me up about an hour ago, just running around, just doing the zoomies thing. And there was a lot of running around and a lot of like squeaking by little Miss Irina here, who is now sat here like butter wouldn't melt and doing a little loaf position with her eyes shut and a poker so that she wakes up. Because damn, child, running around doing zoomies at 5 a.m. That was not called for. So occupied Mariupol. I see a lot of tracer fire and oh, that didn't work. It's a big old explosion there. So don't know what that was. Very dark, obviously, but somebody kindly took a video of all this tracer fire and then a big old explosion. So I feel as though those bullets maybe didn't quite hit what they were after. And you never know. We may or may not never know what that was until much later. Now, versus das. Oh, that's a bit more of Lipetsk, right? Okay, so that's just some more smoke in Lipetsk. Oh, here we go. This is what I wanted. Reports indicate a major fire has broken out near Mariupol and details are being clarified. And that was like 5 minutes ago. So difficult to say. But it's a major fire near Mariupol. So it's a big old column of smoke just going directly up in the air. And you know what that looks like? That looks like burning fuel to me, Fire Fella. What do you reckon? Oh, in fact, I didn't retweet that, so I'll retweet that. Oh. There you go. What do you reckon? Have a little look at that and tell me if that looks like fuel, because it's very black. Very black, that fire.
Oh, definitely Class B. Definitely Class B. That's fuel. Or it could be really thick plastic. Sometimes it's difficult to tell the difference. No, but yeah, I'd say fuel. Yeah, crack on.
Well, that's unfortunate for them, isn't it? More fuel. I guess they're just going to keep being, having to use their feet, having to use less fuel. And I found the boom of the day. And this one is a boom on the move, and it's a loaded Russian MLRS. And it goes up so nicely. So let me just put this boom of the day contender, because it's important that me and Will agree on these things. There we go. So a loaded Russian MLRS detonating after being hit by an FPV drone, and I've got to say it does make it it's dramatic. Little drama queen over there. Nice. So I'm loving all of that. And what does Sergei Stanenko have to say? Because he usually has a good rundown of what's happened. So in the city of Belgorod, there's disruption in the water supply after a missile attack. Drones also attacked temporarily occupied Simferopol and Mariupol and Anapa. So that's just all over the place there, occupied territory. In Lipetsk, a fire broke out in the combined heating and power district during an air raid alert. And then we have something going on in St. Petersburg. And, well, St. Petersburg, what are you doing? It's a mystery. Something happened. A big old fire in the Leningrad region, in the Veselov, I'm not pronouncing that shit. That place. In this district, thick black smoke was visible from that place and Yanino. Preliminary reports indicate that the fire originated in the southern district and the cause of the fire completely unknown. So let's just have another look. That word that I can't pronounce is actually the industrial zone in the area near St. Petersburg. Emergency services. Oh my goodness gracious me, that is a big fire. Emergency services were called to the scene. Authorities, however, do not know the cause of the fire. Apparently there were no drones in the area at the time. So the incident is, under investigation. Oh, that's what they do. They put it under investigation. But local media say a fire broke out in a utility and storage area. Now, someone said the only reason emergency services are remaining at the scene is because they don't have enough fuel to move away. They don't seem to have any small fires anymore, do they? That is just huge. And it appears to be some sort of industrial zone. I mean, it might just be the season for this sort of thing. So we'll see. But there is a suggestion that this is a facility producing polymer materials. The fire, which covers an area of 5,900 square meters now, is being fought by over 50 firefighters and 20 pieces of equipment. Of course, there are no casualties. Never are there? But that's a bit of a toxic flame, that, I would suggest. Nice. Big old fire there, Fire Fella. What do you reckon to that one?
Well, a light smoke issuing. Bit of a job there, people. Yeah. Just a thought. Is it a wild berries place? I don't know.
No, it isn't, this particular one. It does appear to be a facility producing polymer, which I'm assuming you could probably use for drones.
Oh, even better.
And such.
Yeah, that's quite important. That is polymer production. Yeah. They all need taking out. So I'm glad. That's probably why it's burning so quite so lovely flames there. I'm impressed, actually. Yeah. Quite a light smoke issuing.
Yes, indeed. And to the person who keeps requesting, we don't want to talk to you. Sorry. Unless you want to talk to us about Ukraine, don't bother. Thank you. Because that's, whatever's going on with your profile, that's a discussion that we ain't having.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Jesus.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Well said, you.
And every morning as well, almost. And I'm like, I'm just going to block you so you can't listen. So if you want to listen, stop it. Right. Anyway, where was I? So Lipetsk. Now, Lipetsk indeed also had a couple of very interesting fires. When I say interesting, I mean well alight. One of those, where the smoke's going up and you can see all like the fire like reflecting off the underside of the smoke, and it looks kind of apocalyptic. One of those fires, and it would appear that there's two locations on fire for sure now in Lipetsk. One at an industrial site of approximately 2,500 square meters. Emergency services apparently on the scene. And it is the Novolipetsk metallurgical plant. I did suggest it was a metallurgical plant, didn't I? Now I've got confirmation. So this is one of Russia's, it says actually is Russia's largest steel producer. It accounts for around 20% of the country's steel output. Oh, I'm imagining that might be kind of painful for them. While the company denies supplying Russia's defense industry, denies supplying tools of war, just like the Orhanish alumina plant, they absolutely deny supplying Russia's defence industry. In fact, I'm just going to bookmark that so I can share that with the boys later. Ukrainian intelligence claims that the plant does indeed support military production and therefore is a legitimate target. And as we can see right here, right now, yes, very legitimate target on fire. So I guess Ukraine decided that they were just going to turn that steel tap off. There is also Lipetsk TETS-2, one of the largest thermal power plants in the Black Earth region, according to this, supplying heat to the city of Lipetsk and also supplying all the nearby industrial facilities. So I'm assuming that's why that place was taken out. Oh, Arena Nina, do you need to come and sit on my knee now? She's very friendly now. She's very happy. Now that she's woken me up at 5 a.m. Little monster. I know. I love her so. Otherwise, I'd have skinned her by now. So all of that sounds really exciting, doesn't it? Really nice. Approximately 20% of the country's steel output probably going to be offline. I'm loving it.
Was this
So
steel production or aluminium production?
steel, but what I'm saying is that much like the Orhanish alumina plant, they claim to be nothing to do with the military. Definitely don't supply the military industry.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, of course. And the check's in the post and I won't in your mouth. Right, yeah, fine. Yeah, lying arseholes.
Well, absolutely, of course. And the amount of lies that we've uncovered with regards to this Orhanish is, we just, it keeps getting more and more and more. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm just, what? Oh, cruise missiles, apparently. That's what hit them, cruise missiles. Nice. Wow. Sorry, I'm just, I'm trying to catch up with a few things, and some things I just don't think I need to know. However, you'll be glad to know that Larry the cat is still in government.
He's running the place now, isn't he? Absolutely.
Yes.
Did the new
He's
did the new bloke pass the cat interview? Oh, I doubt it.
Larry said he's going to train him, so we'll see. Now, I've got a question. What's Lazy Eye Patel doing going to Ruskiland before the midterm elections? He's going to be hosted by the FSB.
Oh God.
What do you think he's doing?
Getting a new mandate from the FSB. He's obviously Russian bait then, isn't he? And Luma, is she going? Am I getting this right? Laura Luma's gone to Ukraine now. What the fuck is going on in the world?
Laura Luma's in Kyiv.
What?
Yeah, Laura Luma's in Kyiv.
Oh my lord. I don't know what to say. I do not know what to say. The world is bonkers, but properly bonkers this morning. So what does Kash Patel think he's going to achieve in Russia then, apart from get some new orders?
Well, I think this is the thing, right? That look, just recently, his boss, the orange turd, has gone, look, Russia, we've taken away all our checks and balances, so you can actually interfere in our elections if you'd like. He almost literally said those words to them, right? So there was that. And also, you know how Russia always rigs their elections, quite clearly. Well, I think Kash is going over to see if he can take some of those, lessons. I mean, it's not like it's obvious or anything. But good God.
Oh, what do you mean?
I hope when he gets there, he faces a massive amount of racism because, Russians.
You mean get a few pointers ahead of the midterms that they're not going to let the Americans have? Wait and see, peeps. Don't all shout at me, Americans. I'm playing, sort of, but be careful.
Yeah, I think he's just going to find out what kind of repressions they can get away with, or something. Anyway, if that doesn't show that they've got, links to the bad guys, I don't know what does. Anyway, just to confirm, the fire at the power plant in Lipetsk, extremely enthusiastic, and there are secondary explosions, and it does make you wonder what was actually stored there for them to have so many secondary explosions.
That'll be it.
Because power plants don't normally do that.
No, that'll be ammunition. They seem to put tanks and armored fighting vehicles in all their power plants, don't they? That's where they store stuff so that Ukraine won't go after it. But hey ho, fuck around, find out.
Well, may also be a stash of drones because they seem to, be launching a load of drones all the time. Anyway, yes. I'm trying to stay out of Ukrainian politics right now. Look, it will all get sorted out one way or the other. But if you're going to be an asshole, you'll be out of a job. I'll just say that. So, yeah. Hey, we all know why Laura Loomer's in Kyiv. She's coming to replace Sirski. No.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, here's the thing, right? She has a major beef with Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. And remember where they went? They went over to Russia. Now, from that moment forward, she's been actually talking about Russia in the correct way and saying that they're just, they're just a propaganda fest and that all of this, that, and the other. Now, her visit to Kyiv was prefaced with a Russian sentence that said, "As I am not a propagandist, I will be visiting Ukraine." So you can see that it's not really about Ukraine. It's about her ongoing beef with the bitches that went to Russia. However, if she wants to use her platform to support Ukraine and to tell the truth about Russia, who am I to stand in the way of that? I just good luck to you, love. Good luck to you. I hope it works out. And I hope when you go to Ukraine, you meet lots of fabulous people who really impress you. And, because Ukrainians are really quite genuinely, optimistic people, shall we say. Realist, but with a streak of optimism that, they know they're going to win. They would like it to be soon. But, that you can just see with their absolute stubbornness that they ain't going nowhere. They ain't going to, be Russian slaves. And I like that attitude a lot. But also, I think that, they need to take her and they need to show her some hard truths as well about Russia. Take her on the Butcher tour.
Yeah, I was just about to
She
say,
needs to do that.
they'll take about 5 seconds to work her right out, won't they? And go, right, you need to see the following because you're talking shite. Come with us, young lady. Well, young lady, she ain't a young lady, is she? But come with us and we'll show you stuff and we'll see what happens. Anyway, there we go.
One thing she does have is the inflatable lips, so she's halfway there.
Russian lips.
Yes, indeed. But well, you see, the thing is, it's been all the rage with some Ukrainian women as well. So I can't really say it's a Russian lip because it's just a thing for the area that they like to have the lips. It's unfortunate. I think it ruins your face. I really do. I think it's just ruins your face. However, people can change, can't they? Look, I see all these people around the American current administration and all the cronies and hangers on and all of that. It's very much been styled by WWE wrestling. I mean, literally, that woman who runs the WWE wrestling is the education secretary. So just putting that out there. And so Laura Loomer is the bad guy who's become the good guy. You understand how that happens? That they just put on a different color one day and decide that they're going to be the good guy. So I don't fully trust her. But if she wants to play that part and she wants to, be really supportive of Ukraine, good. Let her. I am happy with that. And I will not be upset if she, introduces more truth about Ukraine into the American media. There is, shall we say, some suggestions that Murica might actually start to support Ukraine a bit harder right now. Not because the orange guy wants him to either. So, so there's that. There are a lot of people who have offered her to chat to her. Sean Pinner, Jake Bro, I can't remember who else. But yeah, was it Denis Davidov? Yeah, he said he'd meet with her and have a chat with her. And I get this from a Ukrainian source here who comments on the US-Ukraine relations. In particular, he's a media advisor for Razom for Ukraine. And he says this: I know something very interesting, but I can't tell. I hope that soon Americans will be in for some good and very much needed content from Ukraine. Now, I have a feeling that Ms. Luma might be part of this. Just, thinking out loud, how she might indeed be part of that. So, yeah, there you go. So something to keep in mind. And good, because, well, the more good press that Ukraine can get in the US, the better, considering all the fucking bullshit that's going around, Especially when you got the FBI director traveling to Russia. I mean, Jesus, what's that about? If somebody could just bring him over to the UK first so I could give him a good smack, that would be nice. I mean, I'd love to hit him hard enough that his eyes went back into alignment. That would just be, anyway. Oh, I'm just looking. Yesterday, all the press were gathered outside of number 10 Downing Street, and absolutely all the cameras were focused on Larry the cat. He was just sat outside there, just sunning himself. So, yeah, it would seem that we all know exactly who runs the country, just in case you weren't sure. So, after those booms and the craziness of what's going on with the Luma, I will, there we go, just get rid of that. I will tell you a little bit about, yes, here, St. Petersburg, oh no, St. Petersburg industrial fire, we know about that. Right, so Z bloggers have been whining, as they do, as they tend to do, whining about the daily strikes targeting their vessels in the Russia's fleet in the Black and Azov seas. And this is how it's going to go, folks. This person obviously knows their history a little. There used to be coupons for food. Soon, tanker departures in the Black Sea will require coupons. Russia's Black Sea fleet is trapped in its bases and bays. They're unable to sail. Now, Crimea was seized partially so that Russia could dominate the Black Sea. And this, of course, was, this guy goes on to say, if Vladimir Vladimirovich knew about this, he would have already taken action, but nobody reports this to him. Good Tsar, bad boyar, working it right there. Surely, because he is being kept in the dark, he's still convinced that the cruiser the Moskva is anchored off Snake Island. Well, what you're telling us there is that he's not just a good Tsar, he's a stupid one. And also, I think he actually did comment on the Moskva. So, yeah, anyway. And they say we can only hope for the best. Now, big, strong, almighty leader being kept out of the loop like a small child. The Putin doesn't know thing, I think they use in some ways to keep themselves out of trouble. But the way it's been used here to suggest he knows nothing at all, and he still thinks the Moskva is alive and well. I think they know for a fact that he knows that the Moskva is trash on the, coral reef. But they have to sort of say stuff like that, to cover the fact that they don't want to say, that's what you're doing, Putin. Or at least some of them do. However, some of them don't. Some of them are actually starting to speak out. And well, let's start with the ladies, because it's usually the ladies that speak out first, isn't it? We've got one Russian influence here, Victoria Bonya. And I gotta say, apart from the fact that she too has had a lip job, although not as extreme as some of the others, she's quite a pretty lady with her eye makeup on. Yeah, not that pretty, actually. I love she got a bit close to the camera and I was like, actually, no. But she is an influencer and she's onto something. And, well, she puts it in a context of both sides. So, you know, she's still not quite got it there, but she is onto something. A tiny pecker is competing with another tiny pecker. Now, I'm just going to say, I don't know how big Zelensky's wang is, but he walks with enough confidence that it's probably decent, you know? He's certainly got the biggest balls I've ever seen. So I think, you know, maybe this dick measuring contest is not really a contest. Although I can well believe that Putin has an innie because he can't stop warring. And I just feel that, you know, guys who are confident in their own skin don't need to preach to everybody what a fabulous person they are while forcing everybody to toe the line, you know? That they're the kind of guys who probably have little dicks. So anyway, she goes on to say, destroying effing everything in their path for this contest. Well, she's got it slightly wrong here because, of course, Ukraine are fighting for their lives, literally defending themselves. But she is at least saying, you know, that there's all this destruction and what for? Certain interests have taken priority over the fact that our only home, planet Earth, is now fucking burning like hell. Well, yes, actually. You don't normally have open wildfire, brush fire in Scotland, do you? But anyway, climate change aside, I think what she means is all her stuff that she ordered burnt up in the local wildberries. So I think that's part of her biggest problem there. Anyway, she says, I'm very ashamed to be a part of this. Very ashamed. And, well, you should be, love. You absolutely should be. Carry on. I just want to ask, in your opinion, when and where did we become so divided that we started engaging in self-destruction? Well, you see, love, you let your government do what they're doing. And they did exactly that. They divided you all so that you wouldn't stand against them. And then they started self-destruction by attacking Ukraine. I mean, you know, it's right there. Please answer this question for me if anybody knows. Yeah, I just did. No generation before us has ever left behind such a shameful legacy as the one we're leaving to our children. Well, did you do history, love? Or were you just a pretty face at college? Because I feel as though she missed out a bit of history there. However, this will be worse than previous iterations of shameful behaviour, yes. I'm sure you understand why I'm using profanity. Well, yeah, she F's and Jeffs all the way through this, and I've tried to ignore that because, you know, it's just sometimes it's not necessary first thing in the morning. It's because inside me there is this fire, this flame, this burning. So she's upset, apparently. She's upset, would you believe, that these, you know, these men are fighting and causing such trouble to the rest of them. Now, I love this. I see in the comments here, I don't think Zelensky will care about what some Russian trout face says, but there's always a chance that Putin takes offence at mockers. Now, I think he's actually meaning people that mock him rather than me, but I found that quite funny. Yeah, so calling Putin a little dick might indeed, you know, get her arrested for all we know. Yeah. Peak Russian self-reflection, though, total inability to realise that this is just Russian imperialism over and over and over again. and that they are indeed the authors of their own self-destruction. However, somebody said here it's probably easier for her to see some reality because she lives in Monaco. So she's not directly affected, but she knows that Russia is losing. So maybe she's saying these things because she knows that she's not going to be arrested that easily. And she wants to be perceived as being someone against the war because, Russia's losing. And yes, you're absolutely right. You should be ashamed, girl. You should be. Now, I'm just seeing something from the governor of the Lipetsk region. Let's see what he's got to say about this, big old fire. He's fallen down the same line. You'll know when you hear it. In Lipetsk, a fire broke out at an open area on the territory of industrial facilities on Peredelcheskaya Street. I don't know if that's exactly how it's said, but that's how I'm saying it today. The fire covers an area of approximately 2,500 square meters. Additional firefighting and rescue forces have been dispatched to the scene. Emergency services are working at the site of the fire. Information about the cause and casualties are being clarified. However, the investigation has concluded that the fire was caused by drone debris. Obviously. I love that. And there is actually a nice video here with somebody just driving along going, look, it's burning. Yes, darling, it is burning. Very apt description for Russia these days. Lovely stuff. Now, days ago, women crying in their cars waiting for gasoline was the sort of the order of the day. This is what kept happening, wasn't it? Now, business owners are complaining because their goods burned down in Wildberries warehouses. And we've got a couple of these. I mean, some are guys, but there's a lot of women here because entrepreneurs, There are a lot of women these days who run businesses. So this lady starts off with, I'm a patriot of my country and I pay taxes. Well, not anymore, love. It is 8% from every penny that comes to me on my account. Well, she says Kopek, actually, but I produce products in Russia. I manufacture a product in the Russian Federation. Well, you're one of very few. I certified this for crazy money, an insane amount of money. I pay salaries to citizens of the Russian Federation. Our citizens contribute and pay taxes to the government. I officially bring products to a marketplace registered as Russian and support our government. And the government supports me. A lot of fees are deducted from my earnings, including insurance-related charges. And it turns out this insurance is absolutely no protection against anything. Oh dear. So they just took my money. That's it. They just took my money for nothing. And what's more, they took my own money, the money that I put into it directly. My own. I earned that later. I pay taxes on this twice. I spent my own production and entrusted it to honest entrepreneurs to make sales. Wildberries. I partly borrowed some of this money, so I've been charged there as well. So she's paid interest on the loan. And now they're just telling me, sorry, force majeure. On one hand, you can understand the platform. They're not in an easy situation. But force majeure means I get nothing. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do to pay my workers? Where am I supposed to get money now? How to restore it? How to get anything back? Oh, darling, where do I find money to keep working now? Am I just supposed to shut everything down? And the answer is, yeah. Yes, you are. And who would have thought 4 years ago that the Ukrainians would be able to change the hearts and minds of the regular Russians in this way? I mean, we never expected it to last this long, I'll be honest, but we all know what Ukrainians are capable of. They're generally very friendly, very happy, chilled people. And as soon as somebody messes with them, they stand together against you like a wall of anger. And, at least she understands now that it is affecting her. However, just to note, in Ukraine, this guy speaks of his girlfriend. I think it's a girlfriend. Oh no, it might be a lady talking about her girlfriend. I'm not sure. I don't care. 2 weeks ago, her production plant got bombed. Nobody died or got injured, luckily, but she never shed a single tear. She organised to have the rubble removed. She packed a few things in her car and left from Sumy to a new production site closer to Rivne. From time to time, she says, when things don't work out, she just has to pick up and try and make them work elsewhere. She never asked for help, not even of me. If you're reading this, please be aware she had 15 employees and she still does her best to support them all. That is, that is how Ukrainians get on with it. They're just like, nah, fuck this. We'll just move somewhere else and do something else. That's how it works out. So let's see another Russian waking up to the actual reality. Some guy this time.
I've got a question for you.
Hello, everybody. Oh yeah, go on.
No, from a reader. So, with all these fires at the wild berries and places like that, do we think there'll be a lack of dildos on the front line? I thought that was funny.
Well, yes, you're absolutely right. They do tend to buy a lot of those toys from wild berries, and yeah, probably. But there's also going to be a lack of body armor and spools of micro fiber, fibers.
Fiber optics.
Thank you, fiber optics. My God, my brain just does not like that word. And there's also going to be, a lack of boots and shitty helmets and stuff like that, because they were buying all that from wild berries as well, because the army doesn't provide you with anything. So you buy the cheap Chinese stuff off wild berries because it's slightly better. I say cheap, not that cheap anymore, because they put a markup on it as soon as people started buying it more often. Anyway, it's all terrible. So what's this guy got to whine about? Hey, everybody. I got a bit of sleep, but my head still feels like it's made of effing concrete. Well, welcome to the world of not getting enough sleep. Last night was an effing nightmare. What can I say? It's burning in Podolsk. Look, it's still burning. Just like I said, there's not a single thing said about it on the TV, however. On the news, effing bar stewards. This is so effed up. It's true what they say. The news always lies and never tells us the whole story. People were injured over there. I heard on the radio there was a fire somewhere over there in Podolsk, and that's the only thing I heard. But look, that is not just the only one. There's a big fire over there too. It's just been put out. That's why the smoke is white. Not a single word about it on the news, not the radio nor the TV. That huge white cloud over there that's moving in that direction. I can see it, but nobody wants to talk about it. What is it? This is also another large fire. They said somewhere here in my area, a residential area, a residential building was hit and that resident was injured. But he also knows that right over there's an industrial area. So he doesn't think it was a residential building. He says, however, there was somebody taken to the hospital. They didn't die or anything. Oh, so that's good. A driver at a gas station was also injured somewhere here. This is in Domodedovo. Drone debris fell next to him. Well, that's what happens when you shoot down drones, right over residential areas. That will happen. I'm wondering, what is this? If I film it and upload it, will the Ukrainians figure out where I am and blow me up? No, mate, because that's not what they do, not unless you work for, the security services and you've done crimes against humanity. The second question, if I specifically film a drone flying, Is there a UAV operator using that drone? Will they see me? I'm curious. Well, no, they're not looking for you particularly, mate. Can they see that they're being filmed? Would they change a trajectory of a drone directed towards me? Or are they programmed to fly somewhere specific? Oh, mate, you should have already figured out by now that they're not going to waste a drone on little old you filming them. In fact, if anything, they're going to wave as they go by. Hi, please film us. Please put that out onto the internet so that everybody knows that you have no air defense. So, no, they won't aim for you, you idiot. And so what would happen if, for example, I took a slingshot and started trying to shoot it down? I know what would happen. He would miss. That's what would happen. What if I hit the wing or the propeller and it flew into a residential building? Would I be responsible? Yes, you would. Don't do that, for fuck's sake. It's just a hypothetical. I'll just use that word. So yes. What if I pull out my slingshot? Indeed. Keep it in your pants, love. If you can hit a drone with a slingshot, I'll be genuinely impressed. However, he also has a firearm stored on a hook right by his front door. So just putting that on. Odds are the operator will not be recording, will not see him recording them from 2,000 feet. But yeah, the gun is hung up by its you know, the little like finger guard that you have around the trigger. That's how it's hung up. I feel as though, you know, that might be a bad thing to do. However, it is noted that he does also have a slingshot next to his gun. It's almost as though he's expecting unwelcome things to come to his front door. Anyway, I just think that's quite funny. Quite funny. There's a lot of these people talking now. And you know who's not talking? The people who own the gas stations. LPG stations have reported such a surge in demand for gas equipment installation that they've just stopped answering the phone. The gasoline crisis has sharply increased the demand for gas equipment. Suppliers and installers, excuse me, have raised their prices by 2 to 3 times. 2 weeks ago, installing propane equipment in a car cost drivers around 30,000 rubles, but now up to 120,000 rubles. And yet there are still so many people who want it that they've just stopped answering the phone because they're getting pestered to death. People willing to pay any amount. Yes, we get everything from Mercedes-Benz to BMWs. How much would it cost for a Mercedes-Benz? I'll tell you now, it's 500,000 rubles because your engines are turbocharged and there is a large displacement. This is now a first-come, first-served basis. There are no appointments for LPG installation. However, we operate as normal. So there you go. They basically said, no, we're not taking any orders anymore. You turn up. It's, you know, survival of the fittest. So, you know, that's how that's going. Those LPG guys seem quite happy.
Well, because this is going the same way as the old plumbers in Moscow was going. Remember them in the basements?
Oh yeah, yeah. The plumber who was getting favors from the ladies in the building in order to remain there at that building to constantly keep repairing the plumbing problems. Yes, I'm pretty sure they were also baking him cakes when they got the opportunity.
Of course, cakes. That's it. Yeah. Sorry, I was going somewhere else, but cakes. Yeah, that'll do it.
I'm trying to be polite this morning. I don't know what's wrong with me. Anyway. As all these crises are beginning to take shape, we do see actual voiced dissent and actual people on the street feeling a little bit peed off with the whole situation. Now, obviously, they're not bothered about the war. They're bothered about how it affects them. Slightly different to, you know, actually having a moral anything. But a few days ago, there was a suggestion that this fuel crisis was beginning to spiral into class warfare because Moscow were taking available fuel from the regions, which was then leaving the farmers in the regions unable to even harvest the crops. And one economist, Igor Lipetsk, said he'd never seen such hatred towards Moscow as the Kremlin tried to turn a propaganda facade as well, aiming like, that all is well, don't worry, there's nothing going on here. Well, obviously everything is not well at all. And there's always been a bit of a, haves and a have-nots, but what he says is, right now Moscow is robbing all of the territories. I mean, look, Moscow have been doing this for the last God knows how long, robbing all the territories. I mean, you've seen those places that don't have roads, haven't you? Yeah? The place with the diamond mine that literally the people there have nothing, but they have a diamond mine. Kuzbaz area, which provided all the coal for the region and a massive amount of coal for export, which made the country a lot of money, literally didn't have any facilities of its own. Not a proper hospital, not a school. Well, no, they had schools, but they were military schools, and no roads, no proper roads, only the ones that went to and from the coal mining facility. And you live in your little shantytown shacks and like it. You better like it. So, Moscow's just been doing this the whole time. And although people have grumbled, they've still been able to get by. But not when Moscow takes all the fuel. And that's really started to piss people off. People are writing to me from Russia right now saying they have never seen such hatred towards Moscow as there is now in the Russian regions. The petrol crisis has seriously exacerbated this. When they take away the petrol, the thing that you need the most, you would honestly think that petrol was like healthcare or something. It's madness. The stuff that has been sent to Moscow so people can cruise the streets in their shiny cars, create the illusion of a peaceful city and a peaceful country while we're at war. This causes intense irritation when combine harvesters sit in fields unable to move. There is no petrol for them, nothing. The diesel went to the front and the petrol went to Moscow. It's impossible to do anything. Well, at least he's understanding. And then some days later, this sort of talk is only increasing. It continues to grow across the Russian regions where they talk about separating themselves from Moscow because Moscow does nothing but steal from them. And, well, let's have a little see. A well-known Russian journalist, Leonid Bershitsky, spoke about these sentiments in the Russian society. I've got to say, this guy looks like a proper... if he put on some bother boots and a punk T-shirt, he would indeed look entirely, comfortable. I am a Muscovite. I am from the imperialist center. Good for you. My wife is from Omsk. She's Siberian. She says that she is sort of generally in favor of weakening the ties with the Federation of Moscow. Remember how not so long ago there was somebody in Moscow that said, why is Moscow being drawn into the war that Russia is having with Ukraine? Almost as though Moscow sees itself as like, an island, completely separate to the rest of Russia. And it kind of is. Because, things look nice in Moscow. And everywhere else is just like, yeah, we'll just repaint over this. It'll be fine. So, weakening the ties within the Federation, and maybe even for the collapse of the whole thing. And then perhaps they will stop robbing us, robbing all the other parts, Parts of Russia that have nothing to do with Moscow will finally feel some sort of freedom. They will finally have something of their own. Well, that's a bit cheeky, isn't it? And this is exactly how it should be. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed their economy collapsing, but their economy is collapsing. It's so bad now that they've actually stopped selling bonds. So the bonds that they were using to prop themselves up, yeah, they can't sell those anymore. I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment, but basically, when your bond market collapses, that was the thing that was holding them up. So the Russian government has cancelled future issuances of bonds. They've given no guidance on whether this is going to restart again. And do you know who else is unable to sell government bonds even to their own commercial banks? Do you like a couple of other countries who this has happened to? One of them is Ethiopia, and the other is Lebanon. Yes, if your own banks will not buy your government bonds, that tells you something, doesn't it, about how much they are not worth. The actual stock market is now plummeting into the abyss. If Russian banks are no longer buying government bonds, the capital market no longer exists. And they're going to be a failed economy very soon. That on its own is enough to make me understand that things are super bad. Not just bad, super bad with a cape on. Yes. Should we do some numbers?
Aye, kiddo, it's time for the numbers, peeps. Settle in, strap in.
Let's get them out from under our belt here. There we go. So it's the 21st of July all day, and you'll be glad to know that half my bathroom arrived yesterday and the rest of it's arriving today. So my toilet is actually coming today, not yesterday. Very
Get you.
disappointed. Yeah,
No,
very disappointed when they rang me up and they said, "Can we deliver it tomorrow morning instead? Because we've got another delivery like round the corner from you at the same time." And I was like, "Go on then."
We're gonna need
Well,
pics. We're gonna need pics and photographs.
oh, there will be photographs, don't you worry. But you'll have to wait till next week when it's all installed and looking shiny. So anyway, 21st of July, all day. 1,370 liquidated personnel. Should we do a total just for the joy of it? 1,431,900. It's just a ridiculous number at this point. Just ridiculous. We have 3 more tanks and 7 more armoured personnel vehicles. Just to note that probably in the next few days we will reach the lofty heights of 25,000 armoured personnel vehicles. Good God. 92 artillery systems, 2 MLRS and 2 more air defence systems. So lovely. 453 vehicles and fuel tanks, so not quite as many as yesterday, but still, plenty. And 8, yes, that's right, 8 special equipment. 4,441 items of special equipment in total. I just like the number. We also have 1,865 operational tactical UAVs. And just in case you needed to know, 420,290 UAVs in total. Crikey. We have 5 more ground robotic complexes as well, because, you're not allowed those. Now, the Air Force report is out early, and here it is. It was out very early because it wasn't a very big one. I know. Who knew? Who knew that Russia might have to have a little rest? 58 items in total. So, I mean, virtually a quiet night, I imagine lots of Ukrainians were like, flipping it, what's this bliss? What's this actual full night's worth of sleep? Anyway, 46 of those enemy UAVs were shot down or suppressed. So that still left 12, didn't it? And it does seem to me that when Russia sends, being attacked by yawns, it's so wrong. When Russia sends less drones, a bigger percentage actually gets through. which is, unfortunate. But I'm assuming that they send them all to one place if they're only sending a few. I say a few. It was still, what, 58? That's not really a few, is it? Anyway. These also contained these banderol loitering munition types. 8 strike UAVs were recorded hitting 7 locations, so there was still some in the airspace as of 2 hours ago, but I'm hoping that that is no longer the case. Now, talking of these loitering munitions, there is, well, developments on both sides, because 2 can play at that game, folks. And a Liuti has been pictured here. An AN-196 Liuti drone has received weapons in the form of small-sized air-to-surface missiles. Sounds very exciting, doesn't it? So they can blow stuff up while they're on the way to blow stuff up. The declared range of their destruction is around 200 kilometers and the flight speed about 500 kilometers per hour. So basically a Ukrainian Bayraktar, and more bang for your buck indeed. So just, yeah, that is fun times. So they can destroy smaller targets on the way to destroying a bigger target. It's a TB2, basically. And also there's this, the Firefly. I like the name just because I love the TV series, and I'm one of those cult members. How dare they have got rid of that TV series, to be honest. If you haven't watched it, you should. So, Firefly guided munition for dropping from drones has been tested and is ready for mass production. This is a small guided munition, and it's like a little tiny weeny mini version of the big rocket. It's so cute. Probably not when it's smacking you in the face, but it's cute. The Firefly was developed by the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine to destroy fortifications, dugouts, and other protected enemy positions from a safe distance away from the carrier. The munition works effectively from a height of up to 800 meters. It calculates the flight trajectory and adjusts it to the target even under the influence of electronic warfare. So there again, there is another good use of AI, isn't there? I mean, it's all just, technology. Ukraine are making it work for them. They really are. And what's this? Hornet drones using such AI technology to home in on Russian fuel tankers. Now, these Russian fuel tankers were moving under the cover of a Russian anti-drone mobile fire group, but that didn't help them. That didn't help them at all. A lot of these anti-drone mobile fire groups that drive around with fuel tankers, I don't know if you've noticed, but they're a terrible shot, because when you're moving on a vehicle and your gun isn't necessarily directly stable and you're trying to shoot something which is also moving, that it's just not conducive to being a crack shot. I'll just leave it there. So there's that. Now, just one more thing before I get on to the absolute downfall of the Russian economy and everybody infighting, because there seems to be a lot of that going on as well. My cat's got hiccups. That's hilarious. Sorry, I think that's really funny. Bless her little soul. She's trying to sleep here, and every so often she hiccups, and she's just like, oh, I hate this. UAVs have managed to punch a 35-meter hole in the dam of the Belgorod reservoir, and there is an obvious uncontrolled release of water downstream. And do you know what's downstream there? Shebekino, and further the Kharkiv region. And it's in this particular territory that Russians were trying to advance from Belgorod. And I'm just going to say, how does it feel? How does it feel? Because, what they did to the Kakhovka Dam was just absolutely horrific. I mean, at least this, they've got a bit of time to get out of the way. So, Let me briefly explain what's going on in the context of Russia with regards to ongoing and collapse. So, ongoing, a catastrophic situation that has lasted 5 months already and has no prospect of improvement. Ongoing. Collapse. The total value of Russian companies has fallen by more than 30% in the same period. Yes, collapse. And also, there is a bit of a bank run going on. People are starting to try and take as much cash as they can out of the bank. Their collapse is coming. It's inevitable. Their economic troubles are deepening into a chasm, thanks to the strikes on the wildberry sites as well. That's really sort of, the catalyst to have sped up the situation. Confidence has dropped and fear has risen, and everybody needs cash quickly because, their source of income has suddenly dried up. Well, actually, it didn't dry up, it went up in flames. The Moscow Exchange Index broke below their 2022 wartime low, and it only opened at 1,899, which is apparently terrible. And this is why Ukraine needs to keep hitting their logistics and economic infrastructure. A strike that reportedly caused around $1.3 billion worth of losses at Wildberries logistics hub. And of course, more Wildberries hit since. The financial pressure, as well as the physical damage which affects regular people, is exactly how this is going to, end. This is the beginning of the end for them. Finally, thankfully. And Xi will be able to move in and just take what he wants at some point, which is fine, I guess, for the moment. Now, you would think, with all this going on, that people might be so peeved off that they decide that they will, well, I've not got a job anymore, I might as well sign up for the army. And I actually think this is a good thing because this means that more people will sign up for the army, and it will mean that they will stop thinking about attacking one of the Baltic states, because they would only be doing that to try and rouse a response out of NATO so that they could then say, look, everybody, the entirety of NATO is attacking us. We must mobilize immediately, So I feel as though it's sort of like it gets them away from that sort of thinking. Plus, it immediately places a new strain on their budget. All these new people suddenly signing up, suddenly wanting a sign-up bonus. And they've actually been advertising this as such. Sign up now and receive a bonus for doing so. Or wait until we mobilize you and you won't get one. And that's been like, the way the army has tried to sell themselves, Fire Fella. Can you believe that there's your choices right there? That sounds a little bit authoritarian to me.
Yeah, it's do as we say or do as we say. Yeah, so but that's the Russian ethos all on its own, isn't it? And so just going back to your chat about wildberries, I have put a new bingo card in the nest, people, for those that follow these things. So we were on the old refinery bingo card, which is practically full up now. I mean, you must be getting bored with that. So I'll put a new one in there, a wildberries bingo card. If you want to go and nick that and use it for your delectation every day, and cross the Mossa as they go boom, all good fun.
Yeah, and it will continue. It will, because it's having such a strong impact. It's turned out to be very effective.
It will get worse, is the quote, isn't it? Bless her heart.
Absolutely will. So, you see, the reason I talk about recruitment is this. We have this little nugget of information here from one of the bloggers. The Russian MOD has failed to recruit personnel for the unmanned systems forces. Is it because they keep promising people these jobs and then they just funnel them into infantry instead? So people sign up for the unmanned systems forces and then suddenly they're on the front line with a gun in their hand and they're like, did something happen? Wasn't I supposed to be flying a drone? You know, we don't want all that pesky training, which costs money. And so, as a result of their own system, there's now a complaint that the MOD have failed to recruit the planned number of personnel for UAVs. At a ministry board meeting, the Deputy Minister, Alexei Krivoruchko, maybe, reported that 8,000 persons had completed drone operator training in the first half of 2026. However, this is 5 times less than they had planned for. According to the conflict intelligence, whoever they are, the MOD planned to recruit approximately 34,400 operators over the first 6 months, with 78,800 planned for the entire year. Of these, 58,000 would be recruited from colleges and universities. So, you know, anybody who might be getting bad grades, they could instantly sign up to become a drone operator. And another 10,000 would be conscripted, and the remainder transferred from other units. That's all sounding very good, doesn't it? But they ain't got them. And the reason being is because very few of them actually managed to get through the pipeline. However, 78,000 drone operators' salaries. How many millions of rubles would that be per month? You see, what happened was they did recruit these guys, but they just got lost along the way and ended up in a meat wave. The level of, you know, ridiculousness of them just wasting people in this way that they could have trained to be UAV operators. I mean, thank God they're so effing stupid. So also, many potential recruits had a funny feeling that they wouldn't be in the unmanned systems forces, but they would be in the unlimbed systems forces, where they potentially would come home a torso. There is a guy who's come home from the war as a torso with a head, and they gave him a medal. They wheeled him out on a little trolley and gave him a medal. Now, I'd just like to ask, if you can't feed yourself, you can't go to the bathroom without assistance. I put that very nicely. You can't even pleasure yourself, which I'm quite sure every man enjoys. And you can't do anything but basically ask for help. How soon before he asks somebody to shoot him in the head? Because I imagine he probably already has done. I would not like to consider coming back from anywhere without any arms or legs. I know how difficult it was just to cope with not being able to walk for a year after my stroke. And that was no fun at all. And I could quite happily have just lost my shit on a regular basis because it was very frustrating. Imagine having no arms or legs at all. That would really put me off going to war. I'll be honest. Just glancing at that guy. Yeah, no, that's not what I want to sign up for. Thank you very much. So, yeah, it's all going downhill, it would appear. And who knew? Who knew that they would do this to themselves? Russian border control is now turning back any man they feel is of draft age. So anyone planning to go on holiday or go abroad or anything like that is getting refused at the border now. In fact, they're not only getting refused, they're getting handed a piece of paper which tells them to go to the military registration and recruitment office. That's unfortunate, isn't it? And it means that a whole bunch of guys who thought they were going on holiday are having a sad in the airport because they're not going on holiday after all. They're getting a letter saying, go and sign up for recruitment, you lazy bastard, basically. So that's, that's a shame for them. Time to die, boys. Time to die. Your meat grinder needs more meat. It's a shame, isn't it? So let us carry on with the damage and destruction. 8 Russian air defense assets were destroyed in the last sort of 48 to 72 hours by Ukraine's unmanned systems forces. 6 of them were found in the Krasnodar region. So they were obviously trying to shore up a hole in their air defense there. And guess what? Ukraine just punched right through and made that another hole. And two, and temporarily occupied a Zaporizhia region. Amongst these targets was a Tor M2 missile system in Yeysk, that's Krasnodar, a Castor 2E2 radar in Yeysk, a Gamma S1M radar, again in Yeysk, two Nebo SV radars, Yeysk, a Nebo U radar in Krasnodar region in Primorsko this time, Primorsko-Akhtarsk. A Buk, which was in the Zaporizhia region, so a Buk M1, and another radar in the Zaporizhia region. Some of these will go under the heading of air defense systems, and some of these will go under the heading of special equipment, because radars in particular are considered special equipment. But to see them all being taken out one after the other, this is some serious action by the unmanned systems forces. This is, not just inching forward. This is them smashing the shit out of anything that Russia brings anywhere near. And watching the videos, you just get a sense of real hope of these people being able to, overcome anything that the Russians throw at them. What makes me laugh here is some Russian, I'm assuming, right, says they're in New York, is actually in Italy, as far as I can tell. It's the English pigs who are doing this. They're going to kill all the Ukrainians. There will not be a single one left standing, thanks to the English. Don't you feel proud, Fire Fella, that they keep picking on us and telling us that we're the worst?
Well, to be honest, I was feeling a bit left out, but now, we have returned to the top of the pile to be hated, which I love, of course, because, living rent-free in a Russian's head is my ultimate aim in life. And obviously, we are fulfilling it rather well. Well done, UK, again.
Well, yeah, Finland took our crown the other day, but apparently we're back at it, so that's good. Now then, if you were a Russian tour operator, how do you think things would be going for you when, well, half the population's not allowed to leave the country, and tours within Russia can be spicy? Because apparently, en masse, Russian tour firms are having to shut down. 2,700 companies of this type closed in the first half of 2026, which was up more than 50% from a year earlier. Russians have cut back sharply on travelling expenses. Could it be that they don't actually have the money anymore because everything's too expensive? Well, I know how that feels, love, so, get beside me in that queue. However, they've been opting for cheaper and shorter vacations, or closer to home vacations, staycations, if you will. Fuel shortages, frequent airport closures, instability in the Middle East, all of which have absolutely crippled their businesses and the confidence in people to travel. Domestic tour bookings dropped 31%, and international sales have basically flattened, which means that, there's only the very few who are going now, and there's no new business for them. Mass refunds for cancelled trips. $247 million worth of refunds have had to be issued. Damn. The outcome is the weakest net growth in these agencies in 3 years, just 0.8%. It does look as though they're not going to recover. And to be fair, as far as I'm concerned, they should not enjoy international travel. They should be pariahs if they ever go anywhere, literally just chased and called names by everybody who, knows that they're a Russian. Or they should be just unable to go there, just unable to leave their own country. And that would suit me just fine. You all just stay in Russia and deal with your fate. Stop trying to come over to Europe and, other countries and taint them with your Russianness because, well, you've seen what they're like when they go to places like Phuket in Thailand, where they're just basically all fighting and, causing trouble for the locals. Turkey's sort of like discouraged a lot of them from going to Turkey by treating them like shit and missing their luggage and, stuff like that because, well, they don't like them either. But doesn't mean they don't still go. And I think we need to discourage them all from leaving. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Just stay home, just sort yourselves out, come and talk to us later. Now, it would appear that a whole bunch of Russians did leave Russia. However, there's there was a video put out yesterday showing an awful lot of Russian POWs that apparently did leave Russia and ended up in Ukraine. And as a result of soldiers of the Ukrainian 225th Assault Regiment conducting cleanup of infiltrated enemy groups in the areas of Ternivate, Kozvitsi, Rizhbianka, and Verkina Tursa, and Vozhizhevika. Yeah, I didn't say all of that right. These are all in the Zaporizhia region, however. They apparently replenished the exchange fund by 64 Russian soldiers. Captured 64 Russian soldiers. Now, these particular Russian soldiers were apparently supposed to infiltrate unnoticed into the rear of Ukrainian positions, avoiding combat, but locating UAV crews and gathering intelligence and planting flags for propaganda videos about captured villages. And there's a whole bunch of them here, all sat together, looking very, well, slightly sorry for themselves. Some in better condition than others, but actually not in terrible condition, some of these guys, which suggests that they were only recently deployed to Ukraine and decided that they were just going to, okay, you got me, boss. I don't think many of these guys put up a fight by the looks of things. There are some with scraggly beards and stuff, but most of them actually look okay. And it does make me wonder, how quickly these guys got captured from being deployed. And look, you can say don't show prisoners of war at any time, but these guys are not being ill-treated or anything like that. They were able to speak quite freely. They were all sat there, not a single one of them's tied up or blindfolded or anything like that. They are in some sort of underground facility, and I just think that, this is, well, it's indicative of what the Russians are doing now. They're sending in small groups, just very small groups, to film a flag or, just gather some intelligence and send it back home. And an amount of them don't even have guns. They have no way of protecting themselves. They're given a flag and told, you fucking go off there and plant that flag so that we can take a video of you. And this is going to bring more Ukrainians home. I have a feeling that not a lot of these guys put up much of a fight. They don't look like they've been through an awful lot. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, Mockers. So they walked into a Ukrainian trap. That's the thing here. So they all thought they were going to do a sneaky beaky on the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians knew. Actually, it was SBU Alpha that caught them all and did the mopping up operations, and caught 64 of the little nunchucks, which is fine. I don't know if you can see, but we do have hands.
No, I don't tend to look, to be honest. So you have to tell me who was first, darling.
It's Yenny first, and then Bakalan.
It feels like if they are not traveling within Russia, even, it feels like Sasha meets Russia is not doing her job because isn't she getting paid to promote how amazing Russia is. And if they're not even traveling inside the country, well, she's not doing her job. So fuck Russia.
Thank you, Yenny.
Short but sweet.
Yep.
Balakun, I believe.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Hey, thanks so much, guys, for letting me on. Mokas, you had some great numbers before. I wanted to tell you some of our numbers. So we recently passed 2,000 matches, and I just wanted to say thank you to you guys because you've always been very supportive of us. And for people who don't know what we do, we match people in Ukraine who want to practice speaking English. And it's really valuable. It's not something that costs you any money, but it's a way that you can really support people. And many people become friends, even meet each other online. So I just wanted to say thank you to Mockers, who's always been very receptive to me coming on here and advertising Balakun, but also to anyone who wants to do something that's, really practical. Just having an hour a week where you speak to someone and help them practice English is really beneficial. So you can check out the links if you're interested. But also thank you, Mockers, for showing up all the time. I see you here. I hope you take a break and a holiday sometime because it's hard work. Thank you.
Bless you, darling. What's a holiday? What's a holiday? We don't have those.
I'm on holiday right now, actually, Mockers. But I wanted to come on and say thank you, and also to try to find new mentors because, yeah, you're never really on holiday when your friends are in a war,
100%. Exactly. Even if I have gone away, I've still tried my best to turn up and do a space in the morning. Just because I'm totally bloody minded. The only thing that keeps me from doing it is when I have to go into the office at work, which is, fair enough because they pay the bills. But yeah, folks, go and have a look at Balakun because they do a really, really good job of, connecting English speakers to Ukrainians who want to just, practice their conversational English and learn a bit more.
And not just
It's really good.
English, also like people want to learn German, Spanish, French. So don't feel like you're not equipped. You just have to be someone who's able to have a conversation. You don't have to be a teacher. You don't have to be professional. You're just someone who loves Ukraine and wants them to win and wants to support someone in the country.
Awesome stuff. So thank you so much for doing that because all they do is they connect you up with somebody. They make sure that you've got sort of a fit, as it were, with somebody perhaps similar interests and things like that. Just so that you're able to have conversations. Yeah.
Yeah, we try to. So what I've found is that people are less scared of speaking in a foreign language if they've actually got something interesting to talk about. So we try to match people with similar interests, like if you've got the same profession or hobbies or anything like that. And you don't have to be, as I said, you don't have to be a teacher. You just have to be someone who's able to speak fluently. And it really helps so much. Even just sometimes it's not even about the language. It's just about knowing that somebody outside of Ukraine is supporting them. It really makes a big difference. And we have something like 20% of our students are in the military or veterans, and it really, really makes a big difference for them just to have that support.
Well, thank you very much. So, yeah, people, go and give them some support because it doesn't actually require, oodles of cash. It just requires your time. So if you've got a little bit of time and you want to dedicate that to Ukraine, here's how you do it. Dead easy.
Thank you so much, Marcus.
No problem. And thanks for popping in from time to time and letting us know how you're doing because it is, it's really worthwhile for all involved because, the people here as well, in the world outside of Ukraine, get to know a bit more about Ukraine and the everyday struggles that people go through. And you can provide actual support for a person. And I hear that, it's really fulfilling because you get to know somebody well and you get to sort of, you know, care for them and their family, and vice versa. You know, Ukrainian people are
Another really
usually
surprising thing
really,
is
yep,
that, sorry, another really surprising thing is that because people are often supporting Ukraine online and they don't meet many people offline who have similar views. And what some of our mentors say is that it's really nice to find a community of people who all support Ukraine and they can have normal conversations about things that stress them out or that bother them. And, you know, whether they're interacting with other mentors or with students, they've found, you know, people who they can relate to, which is quite unique in this online world, I suppose. So there's another good reason to join.
yeah, and it shows that we're all humans. You know, we all belong to the human race, and so yeah, it's important that you remember that Ukrainians, for all the amazing things we see them do, they're not superhumans. They're just humans doing their very best. So, you know, sometimes we need to be able to talk about things that aren't just war. Sometimes we need to be able to, you know, talk about cats and crochet and
Oh,
all of
you
that.
know, often they don't want to speak. They want to speak about anything other. You know, they want to hear about anything other than the war, and they just want to talk to in English about anything else. To be honest, and especially the people in the military, it's surprising. People will come on board and say, you know, I know about drones, or I know about this, or I know about this, and we say they don't want to talk to you about that. They want to talk about cats or your holiday on the beach or whatever. Like they want to talk about anything else, not that.
Yeah, exactly. When we have interviews here with you know, soldiers or you know, people supporting them, a lot of the time I'll ask a question about cats because
Yeah,
I know it's much nicer.
yeah. Well, especially if you're learning another language, you know, like it's enough intensity to be speaking in another language and then have to be explaining your situation, you know, where you are, what's happening in the world, what's happening with the war. They just want to talk about simple things and connect, you know.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Sorry, I'm just got hair sticking out my chin because I'm an old lady now, and these things keep happening. I just, you know, I was just trying to get that while we were talking. Never mind, I'll worry about it later. So yeah, thank you for coming up and giving us this information, and do connect with the team there, folks, because it's really worth it. It's worthwhile. It's fulfilling, and yeah, if you've got a bit of time that you can dedicate, instead of twiddling your thumbs watching trash TV, you could be chatting to somebody
Yeah.
in Ukraine who is, you know, going to make real good use out of that experience.
Yeah. And I just want to say again, you don't have to be a teacher. You don't have to have any experience teaching. We provide resources and materials, and you just have to show up and chat. That's it. That's it. This is just practice speaking. And it's really valuable, and it really, for a lot of people, it's very fulfilling in a way that, you know, if you can't afford to donate, or if you can't, you know, you feel like you can't do anything with what your government's doing or whatever, this is a real way to actually help an individual one-on-one. Thank you so much, Marcus. I'll let you I'll let you go back to your space.
No problem at all. Thank you. Glad to be able to help. Put it that way. You know, even if it's just in some small way. Well, I've got a loud mouth, and I use it for lots of things, and that generally includes supporting Ukraine. So yeah, any way I can support Ukraine, I try my best. And so yeah, go talk to Ukrainians, people. Teach them how to have conversations in other languages, because believe it or not, they pick up other languages really fast. They're really willing to learn. They're really interested in anything other than what's going on in the war. You know, real curious, actual humans. So yeah, go chat to them, because it is really fulfilling for a lot of people. So let us move on. Did you hear that Sololyov, that guy, Fire Fella, did you hear that he talked about everybody who is currently occupying occupied territories and, you know, all the neighbouring oblasts to Ukraine as well? They should all move to Siberia. Did you hear that?
I did, Mockers. He's on one, isn't he? I don't know. He's a bit upset, bless him. Send them all to Siberia. I don't know what they've done. Bloody cold in Siberia, I've heard. But, you know, yeah, he's not a happy little bunny, is he? Bless.
Well, Magyar's sort of in agreement. Magyar said, after the, well, you know, the birds said, after the occupation, around 1 million Russian newcomers moved into Crimea and spent the last 12 years making themselves at home there. However, they should take up his offer and move to Siberia. Perhaps they could start a new wild berries business over there. And I'm just saying that if they're not taking the piss, they're making people piss themselves with fear. So bless them, love that. Far away as possible, please. Thank you very much. Off you go. And I just thought that was particularly nice because, you know, Sololyov has basically said, yes, you should all piss off to Siberia. So,
Because
further demonstrating that, go on, sorry.
he didn't mention how they're going to get there, though, did he? Which was sort of, you know, come on, mate. You've got to sort some fuel out for them. And Lexicon's got a round up if you need to know.
I see Lexicon's hand. I'm just going to finish what I'm saying first, though. So, anyway, yes, he basically says, you know, you're all cattle and you should do exactly what you're told. So it's time to scoop up entire populations of not just the Russians that are occupying Ukraine, but also whole regions of Russia that just happen to be next to Ukraine. And everybody should go to Siberia and live there instead. Now, I think, you know, as long as they take the Russian occupiers with them, that sounds like a great idea, doesn't it? So he says there's a lot of talk right now about what the enemy is doing, destabilizing the situation within our country. And unfortunately, that's very clear. This is exactly why they're striking. Now, he goes on to say civilian infrastructure, but to be fair, fuel, you know, distribution and distribution logistics centres of all types are dual use. So, you know, he says civilian infrastructure, but what he really means is infrastructure. And so he shouts about attacks on oil and gas complexes. And yes, that is indeed something which is supporting the armed forces. So, you know, tough days. And that's why they're fighting now over these structures. And of course, these structures are very close to Ukraine. That's why they're able to hit them. So he says, as winter approaches, the energy sector will be attacked. Well, we've seen the combined heating and power plants, haven't we? And so the idea that he's had here is, if that's the case, everyone should just go to Siberia as a preventative measure. That's right. Piss off to Siberia as a preventative measure, so there's no population to be aggrieved at the fact that they have no heating or lighting in the winter. He says this should be paid attention to by the highest level, the supreme commander, constantly involved. The people on whom these decisions depend are here and now. So what's stopping us? We could just move them all. We're not talking about a small number of people. We're talking about 200,000 or 300,000 people who live in Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, Kursk and Bryansk regions. Crimea. Sorry, I added that. What's stopping us from just relocating these people, giving them a chance to move and to live normally in a new place? Isn't that part of genocide? Just uprooting people and moving them far away from where they actually live and just saying, you're all going to live here now. Enjoy it. And then just dumping them and leaving. Pretty sure, yeah. So he says that to the Far East, to the Urals, to the Volga region, distribute them across the country. After all, we don't abandon our own. Apart from those guys who are injured on the front line, of course. We abandon all of those. When the front line moves away, we can rebuild and people will return to their homes. But we are turning away a workforce, watching the people in the harshest conditions survive. And that is why, in my view, we should do a state relocation programme and move them all away. Right now, at least temporarily. You know what temporary is for the Russians, don't you? Not into temporary accommodation, however, but into proper accommodation. Now, who's going to pay for that, I wonder? Especially considering how many new builds we have standing empty right now. Oh, of course, because nobody can afford new builds. That's right. What's stopping the government from buying that up? Buying up that housing and providing it to the people who will work? Money. That's what's stopping them from doing that. That and the actual will of looking after the people because they don't care about them. And more importantly, it would dramatically boost morale, wouldn't it? Would it boost your morale to be uprooted from everything you've ever known and thrown to Siberia? I think they've tried this before. Lexicon, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a riot. I think yes, they have tried it, but they just haven't tried it as well and as brilliantly as this new suggestion is. I mean, moving those people out of Bryansk and Kazan generally, Ber, Belgorod. I think it's a wonderful idea. All that stuff about Donbass and Zaporizhia and stuff, they're just going to have to get out of there anyway. Ukraine will be pushing them out once they've pushed them out of Crimea, they'll move on and push them out of Kherson and Zaporizhia, and then they'll move up and push them out of Donbass. But you see how they've been proposing that they absolutely need to have a security zone, a belt, because what about Russia's security needs? Did you forget about that? Russia needs security guarantees too, right? And hasn't the El Supremo been proposing there be a zone, a belt there, a cordon sanitaire of security guarantee zone of about 200 miles depth or something. I don't know if he meant 200 or 300 or kilometers or miles, but a nice gray belt there so that the Ukrainian troops and the Russian troops wouldn't be anywhere near each other. The problem is he kept drawing it on the wrong side of the line, but then we were publishing some of our own, right? And we were saying, good idea, we're with it. We support this. Yaza, I'm for. And so I think Solovyov has come around to our point of view, don't you know? And so he's proposing that there be this security belt that would guarantee Russia's security and right down that strip. I think it's a very good idea. And I hope that the Mango Lumpa will go along with it too and propose it to the Supremo since, anyway, it sounds good to me. Doesn't it sound good to you?
Well, if all the Russians want to leave those areas, and leave them unpopulated and unlooked after, and isn't this the demilitarized zone that Ukraine was kind of proposing?
Yeah, he's come around.
Yeah, it's almost like the Russians are starting to think of this by themselves, yeah, if you want to completely demilitarize all the area around Ukraine and move everybody away for their safety, that'll do. We'll have that. We'll take that. Yeah, that'll do. You want to remove all the Russians who have moved into, occupied territories and take them away for their safety so that you can protect those people and have them live in Siberia. I'm sure they'll love that. But, go for it. Yeah, see if we care. So there's that. And it does look as though that's kind of, what he's proposing. Now, I've got to add that the people listening to him, the looks on their faces, I'm not sure that they are very happy about this suggestion. They look like the most depressed group of propagandists I have ever seen in my life. And that's I just feel as though, if they want to do that, that would be amazing. Yes, please do that.
But Mockers, I love your other point when he says what's stopping the government from ... like transport, relocation, taking over all these houses. This guy has blithely proposed all sorts of things that cost heaps of money, investment, forever now. And he has absolutely zero grasp. He says he has a PhD in economics from some American university down south Tennessee or somewhere. But in any case, he clearly he's like his boss there. He doesn't care to know that they haven't got 2 rubles to rub together, and they can't do anything. They can't finance the war, never mind financing the security zone. But anyways, yes, you're quite right. I love his who's stopping the government from doing this. Love it.
Yeah, that would be money. Money would be stopping them from doing any of that. Also, there was a nice suggestion here that if they all move over there, that the Chinese would welcome them as workers. Indeed. So, yes, good fun. So, there's been a bit of uproar in the Russian military because Putin installed his cousin's niece as a lieutenant general in the army. This lady, I mean, she looks perfectly, pleasant apart from the fact that she's got a Nurse Ratchet face, has no relevant experience in the army. She did used to be a hospital psychiatrist, so I'm sure that'll go down well. But she's been appointed as, a lieutenant general. So she's got a very nice, clean uniform there. And she's called Anna Sileva. And as you can imagine, the Korean military are absolutely disgusted. Do you know how long it takes to achieve this position through the military itself, Fire Fella? He doesn't, obviously, does he?
Now go on. So that was rather interesting, isn't she? Takes a lieutenant general about 35 years to get in position. Took her 2 weeks.
That's it. 30 years minimum. Yes. So all the career, army guys around her who have been through everything from the most horrific hazing when they first joined the army to, all the corruption and the sidestepping of, trying to stay alive the entire time, all the way up through the ranks until they get to the point where they can be the evil ones to be horrible to their subordinates. And then this woman just walks in and gets a job above them. No wonder they're a bit pissed off. And so Putin's second cousin's niece. It's not what you know, eh? It's who you know. And everybody in the room, while she's talking, looks absolutely disgusted.
Keep it in the family,
and
keep it in the family.
Indeed. Now, he did actually award her this rank in January 2026, but she's only just sort of appeared in her uniform to start giving people orders. I just think perhaps she's going to be used as a new face of mobilization because, she's a harsh-looking woman. I don't know. But this tells you who he trusts and who he doesn't trust. Only family, apparently. I mean, it's very, very shame. Very big shame for them that, they're also upset. Never mind, eh? So it cheered me up a great deal. Now, there is a Russian military blogger here, Dmitry Borisenko. He's got over 1 million subscribers. And he's increasingly talking of an armed coup to oust Putin, which sounds delightful, doesn't it? He's basically saying the domestic situation has deteriorated so much that they're all a bit pissed off, and this could be an option for the future. So, he says, the person who plans to run for office from the Rodina party was also inside the State Duma building. Bear with me because it's going to take a minute to page over his words. I won't mention the deputies' names. They are well-known people and I don't want to cause them any harm. But from what my comrade told me, he was shocked. He said, Dmitri, you have no idea. I was shocked that within the walls of the Duma, they were openly talking about an armed coup in a loud and straightforward manner. Well, that sounds very treasonous, doesn't it? They said, why should we bother running for office if events are about to unfold any day now and there won't be any elections after all? On the contrary, they might even come after us now. Meaning, regarding some of them, there will be investigations. Like, what were you doing under the previous government? I don't know who's carrying out these investigations, so maybe it's Putin coming after them, maybe it's, the people coming after them, the oligarchs, perhaps. And this is the kind of mood that prevails even within the State Duma just 2 months before the parliamentary elections are due. Well, this sounds fun, doesn't it? People openly talking about a coup, a state coup. They'd claim it would be carried out by certain security agencies. In other words, it'll be the security forces that initiate this, of course. It will not be the Ministry of Defence. If we look at how the authorities have behaved lately, they've literally gone off the rails in terms of repressive measures and measures that further increase the dissatisfaction of citizens. Well, there is that. They are quite dissatisfied, I will agree with him there. So, we have talked about this many times. There is a belief that the situation is being deliberately stirred up and intensified, and that the protest potential in society and hatred towards authorities is being fueled on purpose. Oh, mate, have you not seen that your people are almost incapable of protest? Anyway, often, even by artificial means, deliberately fueling a protest mood within society. Well, I don't know. I don't know that you're going to get them out in the streets, And of course, all of this points to the fact that the situation should soon come to a logical conclusion. Now, I suppose people wouldn't need to go out into the streets if the security services suddenly toppled, the top of government. The people would be satisfied and their grievances would go away to some degree and they would sit and wait and there would be less chance of some sort of civil, unrest, shall we say. So perhaps that's what they're sort of planning, that they'll foment almost unrest and then solve the problem and then they'll look like massive heroes. Yeah? Anyway, a logical conclusion. I like the sound of that, for sure. So, as for the president, judging by conversations my colleague told me about in the State Duma, nobody there takes him seriously anymore. I wonder where this guy lives. Whether he's happy to say this out loud, or whether he thinks he's going to fall out of a window. That is, he is already perceived as a figure whose time has long passed. Everyone is just waiting now to see who will carry out the transfer. Like a football transfer, but more violent. Everyone is trying to predict who should be the first to run. Who should be the first for them to run to and to greet, to salute and express their gratitude, and so on and so forth. They're looking for the person that they need to congratulate because, they're all slaves, obviously. And they're just waiting for that to happen. The main trend now is understanding where the movement will start and how it will start. There are several centres of power. I've said this many times before. And now they are currently focused on a possible transfer in the near future. I mean, it's lovely to hear this coming from Russians themselves. I know of 2 such forces myself. I call them the 2 Kremlin towers, if you want. This is how I call them. With an outward appearance of unity, on the surface, everyone says that we're united. We are with the president, or blah, 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 but in the corridors, the picture is different. And I know of 2 such forces. There may be more. Perhaps there is also a 3rd, a 4th, or a 5th, but they are dissatisfied with the current situation. Well, well, well. That sounds quite interesting, doesn't it?
Certainly does, because I don't know how true I think it is, but may or may not happen. Lexicon?
Yeah, it's pretty intriguing. Yeah, I really don't remember. There's so many names, and they all start with B, don't you think? But anyway, so I don't know where this guy is living, as you say. He maintains he was chatting with Duma members, or maybe he just says a Duma member said he was chatting, and they're all chatting this way. But it goes along with other stuff you were telling us about earlier. I've been here in Ukraine watching a lot of Ukrainian TV sort of commentators and stuff. And yeah, it's interesting. Everybody's pointing out, as you were, they used to be this good Tsar, bad boyars, and that tone is changing in two ways. Like either he knows about it and he's wicked and he's foolish and so on, because what he's done, I mean, his war is madness, and so they should have a coup and throw him out, or the ones that are still saying, well, he just, as you say, a good Tsar, but he doesn't know, in which case you were saying he's a very dumb Tsar. And that's the other way, that the man is just, maybe he doesn't know, but that means that he's out of it. And so rather than looking like this fit, bouncy, charismatic, youthful president, strong leader stuff, that he now looks like the bunker grandpa, and which that name does come from Russia. They do call him that. So he's looking more like a dodderer, and so that doesn't do him any good either. So these two ideas seem to be more the trend, and the old good Tsar bad boyar, that's pretty well gone. So I mean, no individual one means much. It's just like these 1,000 cuts that are stabs being dished out, and other stuff. I mean, they haven't got any money. They can't finance the deficit from abroad. They're going to have to finance it by I mean, there's some people they have to pay, so they're just going to print it. And that's going to there's going to be increasing inflation and so on. And that will lead to more bank runs and craziness among the population. But at the same time, our side is destroying their kinetic war. So all these cuts together, well, it just sounds like the pace in this lethargic country is picking up. The pace of a panic, the pace of a catastrophe, while everybody's lethargically walking around wailing. I don't know. The mind boggles. How do you even create an image for yourself of this? What can you create an image for us, please?
Well, I just hope it happens sooner rather than later, because, look, the Russian people, from what I can tell, from every time they speak, they're holding out for a hero to come and, save them. And even if that hero is the most horrific person in the world, as long as he gets them out of their current terrible situation, they'll be quite happy. So, we'll have to see. But I would agree that it's not the army that will take out, the current leadership. It is most likely the security services, backed up by a couple of oligarchs who've managed to stay quiet enough to keep themselves out of prison so far. They know the writings on the wall. They're not, daft. They can see exactly what's coming. And I think the guy's called Chemtsov. He is the only person that I know of who has turned around to Putin and said, no, you fucking don't. And he's the guy that basically owns all the military production. And some while ago, Putin tried to relieve him of his military production empire. And he turned around and went, no, you don't. And actually got away with that. Putin backed off and left him alone. And just went after everybody else, obviously. Now, I don't know what sort of agreement they had or what, but I wonder if he wouldn't step up himself. He would stay in the background, but he would probably fund whoever was this hero of the hour. But that is my only assumption. And of course, I know nothing really. I'm just looking at what I've read and what I am deducing from the way they behave, that if anybody was to bankroll it, it's going to be the guy who has all the money, isn't it? And he's the only guy who's making money, as far as I can tell. And war suits him up until a point. When the war actually starts to affect not only his bottom line, but also his comfort, then he might think, I've had enough of this shit now, you know? So we'll see. But I do need to go to work, I'm afraid. So I love you all and I mean it, but I'm going to get out of here. So see you until tomorrow, Fire Fella.
Absolutely, Mockers. I can only hope that it comes sooner rather than later, and all the shenanigans in the backgrounds get sorted out, and he does get taken out. My opinion is that may or may not happen, but we'll see. But don't forget, people, fundraisers, please keep supporting Ukraine. We need to keep this going as long as we can, every day, because they don't get a rest, so we don't get a rest. Slava Ukraini, Mockers. See you tomorrow, people.
Herom Slava.
Slava Nazi.
Smert for a ham.
All right, let's see here what we have coming up. We have James and Vatnik Soup with the Russians Hybrid Warfare coming up at noon Eastern, 7 p.m. Kyiv. Then at 7 p.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. Kyiv, we have Robin and Alan with Ukraine Today. Followed then, of course, by Fire Fella and Mockers at 2 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Kyiv. And after them come come Will and Iwana at 4 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Kyiv. So that takes you through the next 24 hours of what we have coming up. And with that, I hope you all have a good day. And I will say, Skoro Popotamus.
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 Join us on the radio. We look forward to seeing you again. Your audience. Your audience.